Thank you. Hello, television. I always do that. Right, okay, thanks for coming to this session. There are loads of other things to be doing in Edinburgh right now, but you're doing the best thing, which is being here. There is a quote from a 19th century British essayist whose surname I can't pronounce, but his first name was Walter. You can look him up. You might know the quote. And the quote, it's disembodied, as quotes always are, but it's a lovely quote. We must not let daylight in upon magic. In other words, we must not explain those things that are so great that that's enough. And yet we're at a TV festival, and all we're doing is basically finding out how things are made and taking them apart and opening the bonnet. So we know how Gogglebox is made now, and that's how the masterclasses usually go. But this is slightly different, obviously, because this is a magic show. And I'm assuming you're all familiar with the work of Dynamo and possibly have seen Magician Impossible on Watch. And what we have to not do here is let too much light in upon magic. But we have got the people who make this programme, and we're going to do our best to let just enough light in without spoiling the magic. So let's see if we can pull it off. I'll introduce the panel in one go, and you can cheer them as they come on. We have, in no particular order, we have Richard Watsham, Commissioner for Watch. We have Lucy Ansbro, producer from Phil McIntyre Entertainment. Dan Albion, series executive producer, long-time collaborator and partner of international magic superstar Dynamo. Thank you very much. So, without further ado, I will remind those who don't know that Series 4 of the show starts on Watch on the 4th of September at 9 p.m, exclusive to the channel. And as you may or may not know, depending how much attention you've been paying, this will be the final series for the channel, and we'll find out more about why and what happens next when we get going. I'd be tempted to go back to the beginning before we start speaking, because the story and how you got here is quite incredible. So this was certainly for me the first thing I saw you do, and it may have been for others as well. It would certainly seem to be a kind of watershed moment in your career from obscurity to superstardom. So let's watch a clip and then we'll start talking. This is Dynamo crossing the Thames. Yeah, I think so. It's not every day you see something like that, and this was became a news event. Was a fantastic promo for the show, of course, but most people on most shows couldn't really do that in order to promote a show. That moment there, were you kind of aware that you were about to sort of go to a bigger audience and be seen by more people?
I always thought it had the potential to be huge. In my head, when I think of magic, I think it's the greatest thing ever. But obviously not everybody thinks the way I do, otherwise they'd be doing that as well. So when I kind of first pitched the idea to Richard and Lucy, I think they looked at me like I was some insane person on the first interview. But luckily I've got Dan in my corner who kind of helped to reword it and make it seem more feasible. And then when I actually did it, it wasn't until I kind of got halfway out and I kind of stopped for a second and looked around and I realised, shit, it's pretty epic. So yeah, it's definitely a turning point in my career.
Well, obviously I'm not going to ask you how you did it. That's not going to be answered, and I don't want to know, actually. So, and in some ways, that's a pact I think we make with shows like this, with performers like you, although there are none like you, obviously, that you don't want to know, because if you did, that's not the thought in your head. You're just, for me anyway, just kind of engaged with what you're seeing and wondering if what you're seeing is what you're seeing. And that isn't something you get very often in television, where you kind of disbelieve everything. And I think, can I just ask you, Richard, since you brought in there, your reaction from the other side when this thing was going to happen?
Well, so Dynamo was talking about pitching that stunt, but actually I wasn't the original commissioning editor of the very first series. So actually when Dynamo came in and talked to the others at UK TV, it was Christian Drobnik, Jane Rogerson and Tess Cumming who had the I think the words cojones to put what was a good sized budget for UK TV behind an incredibly ambitious project. So I came on as the filming started. So I was there when that happened, which was absolutely extraordinary. But yes, but it was them, and I think it's quite important that you know, they get the credit for taking that leap.
Well, just for those that don't know your story, what was it in the very first case that got you interested in magic, and how young were you?
I was actually 7 when my grandpa first showed me a piece of magic. And after seeing that, like every weekend he'd show me something new. I'd be like, oh, what, you know, I'd go to my grandma's and at weekends, and he'd always just show me one new piece of magic. He'd only do one. Like, you know, he knew the art of performing and about keeping people wanting more. Yeah. And then as I got a bit older, I was getting some trouble from kids at school, and they decided to put me in a wheelie bin and push me down a hill every day. And they also threw me into the dam. Where I lived in Delphil, there's a dam that separates it from another estate. And they'd throw me into the water, and I didn't know how to swim. I didn't learn to swim till I was like 14. But I always dreamt that it would be incredible if I could just walk on the water. So that's kind of where the idea for that stemmed from even from when I was like 11 years old.
Well, this backstory that you're talking about now, this is actually, if people watch the programme will know that, you know, you're very keen for people to know where you came from, what you were like, how, you know, if you can make it, anyone can, and the dedication obviously involved is something that's probably beyond most people. And how important your grandparents were, especially your granddad, I guess. And we've seen them on film.
Yeah, my nana, she's comedy genius. She needs her own TV show.
She's my second favourite character in the show.
Who's the first?
Can we just imagine a life where you had actually pursued the piano and not magic? Because that was an option, wasn't it?
I mean, you know, it would have been hard luck on Pharrell Williams because I'd have been doing his job. So it's kind of, I just feel it's worth spreading the love.
Fair enough, letting him have a chance.
Yeah.
So when was the point where you had to make the choice between going that way or going magic?
I was in hospital because I've got Crohn's disease, and I had an abscess on my bowel which needed to be removed, and up until that point magic was kind of a hobby. I had ideas of grandeur, but I also had my mum and my nan telling me to get a proper job, so I was kind of focusing on that and, you know, going to college, and I ended up like spending 6 months in hospital. And I decided then that when I got out, I wanted to pursue my passion of magic. You know, if I'd have died then, which I nearly did, what would people remember me for? And the one thing people talked about in a positive light about me and where I'm from is the magic that I do. So I just made it my goal when I got out. I made this crazy like master plan. It looks like rubbish really. It was like you know, some notes like this on this piece of paper. It looks a right mess. Right? But that plan I took to my guy Emil at Mapper Youth Club, and he introduced me to a guy called Tony, who knew Prince Charles. So then Tony hooked me up with Prince Charles, and when we got Prince's Trust startup loan, $2,000, bought a camcorder, laptop, and filmed Underground Magic, my first DVD, which I think you've got a clip for.
We absolutely have. You know that because you've just. So I'll introduce now the clip, which is from Underground Magic, Dynamo's first DVD.
We're on the Underground Magic.
Yeah. So Dan, where do you two come into the story
really
together?
funny seeing that old footage which we shot. Well, I met Stephen, I think it was around 2003. I'd put on a tour for Universal. We were promoting the DVD release of 8 Mile, and one of the events that we did, we went up to a club called Rehab in Leeds, and halfway through the night, this young guy looked about sort of 14 or 15, came up to me and he said, hey, do you want to see something? Which is a bit of a weird thing for a guy to go up to and say. So I was like, okay. And he just started doing this incredible magic. And I think the first thing that I saw him do, he borrowed a coin and started to levitate it in front of my face. And I mean, I was a fan. I think that was the first thing. It certainly wasn't like a management proposition. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. And so he already had a plan. He wanted to make a DVD, and he'd printed out a kind of pamphlet with quotes from all these local celebrities that had come into the area. It looked a bit like a Chinese takeaway, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
But you know, so that's really where we started. And he started coming down to London, and he kept on the couch for many weekends. And we just started filming stuff, and that was some of the early stuff that we filmed.
And how kind of collaborative is your relationship in the sense that are there things that you can't see and are all really, I mean, do you keep things for yourself that nobody else knows about, even your collaborator?
Dan's now, not only is my manager, but he's exec producer of the show. And, if I'm not there, he's kind of keeping an eye on the edit and everything he's literally like, I guess it's like a machine. He's covering the edit, he's covering the directorial bits here, he's managing my career, and I can be a pain in the ass. So he's pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, he's got his work cut out for him. And then he's having to, I'm making, it's like, I want to keep that trick with the sunglasses in. And then what Richard's like, but we don't want that one in. I'm like, Richard wants it out. But we've got to have it in, Dan. So tell him we're having it in. And then eventually, somehow, he manages to find a happy medium. And it's kind of, I don't know, I guess I couldn't imagine making the shows and, in fact, doing my entire career without Dan by my side, overseeing everything. So
I think we're very lucky because, we've always been able to make the shows that we wanted to make. We've always been independent. We've been doing this now for maybe 12 years, and the reason that we went with Watch and we went with Phil McIntyre was because they saw the vision that we created, and many other TV channels and production companies wanted to change the vision that we created, and we just weren't prepared to negotiate on anything really. so yeah.
Occasionally we
negotiate. But it's important though, because it allows us to keep artistic integrity. And just,
I think it's important to remember that in terms of the people in the edit suite, Dan is the one who's literally sitting there until the small hours of the morning crafting that show. And you can see by the quality of it, and no disrespect to the early work, but the new stuff,
I edited
the quality of it is so high, and it's because he sits there for hour after hour literally crafting it. So a lot of the credit for creating Magician Impossible has to go to Dan as well as obviously to Dynamo.
So Lucy, when did Phil McIntyre get involved?
Well, I think we got involved when you were just about to give up on channels, weren't you, and start making the shows yourself.
We just thought we wanted to make a show, but like Dan said, the ideas for the shows that TV channels were coming to us and trying to get us to make were a bit kind of cheesy and kind of, I guess, not the way I envisioned the future of magic going. I felt like it had all been done before, and then we thought, well, we've got we've done quite a few gigs, we've built up a bit of a name for ourselves, so we had a bit of our own money. We thought we'll just put our own money together, get some camera equipment and see what we can come up with. And we started to, we was going to make our own pilot, and Lucy was one of the people who were kind of pitching it to just to kind of help us get into the television world, and then it kind of all came together from there, really.
Yeah, well, Martin Dance introduced us, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I was working with UK TV on a couple of projects on Dave and Gold. And I spoke to the then commissioning team after I'd met these two, and they were looking for something interesting for Watch. And so we went in, had a meeting, wowed them. Dan had a clear vision, and they did have the balls to just go for it.
So that was the sort of tipping point when everything came together.
Me and Dad never actually thought that when we took that meeting Watch, we didn't think that they'd come back with a yes to anything. Yeah. We just thought, we don't really know this channel is at the minute. But every other TV company has kind of shot us in the foot. So,
and I think that point about being asked to shift what you wanted to do into other things is quite important, because I think what we loved about the show right from the very beginning was the authenticity of it. It was the fact that we told the series tells the story of Dynamo over a long period of time. And I remember, cutting the first series probably about 48 hours before it's supposed to be delivered, still shaping that and working on the story element and the narrative element of it, which is really important. Without that, it wouldn't be the same show. So I think it's vital that we were able to keep that in, I think.
And it's becoming a more and more common story where somebody is making their own stuff and putting it onto YouTube, onto the internet, and then the TV channel comes in and can often ruin it. Just the very fact of it suddenly going overground, as it were, could take away the kind of appeal of it and the authenticity, as you mentioned already. And yet that didn't happen. Somehow or other, you managed to make the first series feel as underground in a way as the originals. Yeah,
and it's about not watering it down as well. I think with the series 2, 3 and 4, it's about the tricky thing has been making it bigger and taking it to the next level, in regards to not just magic, but production stakes and everything, but still keeping that authenticity and that realness that we get from Series 1. You know, we want it to be raw and kind of uncut and edgy, but yet feel like it's like we've grown we have grown as a team, but make sure it shows on screen.
And it sounds like a kind of vulgar question, but has the budget risen over successive series, or you know, do you have more money to play with and more, because there's a lot more travel involved as the thing goes on,
it's risen, but you know, I think we've always tried to create a show that is bigger than the genre, you know. So I mean, when we first came in and we were talking about walking in the River Thames and, you know, huge things, they weren't things that you maybe would think would be achievable within television budgets. So we've been very fortunate, you know, that it's been successful. I think without that, then surely the budgets wouldn't have risen. But you know, we've kept on trying to push that envelope. But you know, I think the thing for me is just really trying to stay honest with it and trying to make a show that we want to watch. You know, ultimately, I think that's the best test. You know, we watch it, we go, you know, does this excite us or not? Yeah.
So the actual production of the show, in some ways, much of a production of any show is going to be the same. There are certain things that have to be done, but presumably, again, without spoiling it, there are things that happen on making of this show that simply don't happen on other shows. Mm-hmm. You know, not just what's on screen, but you know, the way you have to go about it. I mean, you need the public, or you need other people to be there. It's not you talking to camera, it's you engaging with other people, and they're as important in a way as you, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's come from you, has it? That?
Yeah, I think the thing about magic that I love the most, where I can't get enough of it, is that every single performance is going to be different. You know, the reactions are going to be different from no matter who you're performing to. You can never quite judge exactly how someone's going to react. That's why some of the celebrity reactions you see from what I do, you know, you've got Pharrell Williams running away screaming, who's like the coolest guy, you know, ever. You know, and you have girls fainting and stuff, but that's, you know, just I'm used to that because I'm attractive. But you know, so it's hard to judge. But then obviously, you know, there's been times where we've spent, you know, hours and hours and hours filming, and we've filmed the magic's just looked amazing, but for some reason it's just not getting the reaction we wanted. And then, you know, by the 8th hour of filming, you know, just film with one last person, and then it's just gone perfect. You know, we actually filmed on the tube. Just don't tell the ticket people because they might charge us for this. We filmed on the Underground for 8 hours, just continuously.
Circle line
going round and round and round. And we had like, by the end of it, we had this whole kind of system which Dan created where we were trying to make sure that the seats, you know, that because we needed space to film with a small camera, but it didn't get too busy in the carriage room, so we'd put like rubbish on certain seats so people wouldn't sit there. So we could kind of coerce people to sit where we needed them to sit.
But I think there's a really interesting kind of psychology about filming magic, and what we found is as the crews have got bigger and the cameras have got bigger, it's affected the way that we've had to deal with that. Right. Because ultimately, you know, getting a great reaction is about not allowing the spectator the time to think. The minute you think and you start to prepare yourself, it's not an honest reaction, it's an action. And so, you know, we had a real problem with a lot of the directors that we worked with early on, because it was totally counterintuitive to the way that they had trained. You know, they trained to set up shots to make sure that everything looks beautiful. And we were like, no, you can't do that, because the minute you bring a spectator into a set-up environment, you know, the minute you keep them waiting, the minute you put up big lights and you've got a big crew, they're going, okay, I'm going to be on camera. How am I going to react? You know, how am I going to be? And actually, you don't want that. What you want is to get somebody in front of the camera, go bang, so they've got no time to think. And that's when you get the best reaction. So we've had to certainly change the way that we approach it, you know, based on the scale of what we're doing.
And in the same way that they say some people are susceptible to being hypnotised, can somebody who you find in the street when you're filming clearly be too cynical to getting engaged with? Are there people who are obviously not going to be the
They can. Sometimes it works both ways, though, because you can find something that's very cynical, but then once Dee does what he does, it flips it. And that, to me, is the best thing. I mean, we often try and find cynical people because I think then it's more honest, you know. It's like, you know, for instance, when we were in Austria, you know, there were loads of drunk guys who, to be honest, it would have been really easy to get a really loud reaction from. But actually what you want is people, you know, I think in the new series we filmed at a event for the Hollywood Science Exchange, which were all of LA's top scientists. You know, and I think then you go, well, you know, these are smart guys who aren't going to be fooled easily, and that I think is more impressive. But you know, I think the location, there's a lot of factors that come into play in terms of getting a good reaction. And again, if people are too prepared, if they feel, you know, this is too produced, suddenly I think they've got their kind of eye, you know, on us rather than on him. Or we want to be invisible.
Let's see another clip. This is Dynamo in a record shop. And to find a record shop still open, that was pretty amazing. Richard, how, as the commissioner, do you kind of stay across? Obviously, Dan's out in the field. How do you stay across something where you can't know what's going on a lot of the time? You have to be in the dark to a degree, surely.
I do know. Yeah. Along the way, I picked up a few small things, but generally, I think it's quite useful not to know too much, because I think I need to be able to see it with the eyes of a viewer. And so that's my role, really. So we talk quite a lot in the before the guys go out and film. We talk about the locations. We talk about the kind of the possible themes, and we talk about particularly the big end effects. And then, this might sound weird, I trust them to go and make the show. And you know, these guys have been doing this for a long time, and not only the kind of magic, but the production values. And everything around the production is incredibly well honed, and they do a brilliant job. And I think it's quite important that I'm there to support and to kind of collaborate with them, but also allow them to go off and do it. And so I tend to get involved at the beginning and then come back in again at the edit stage. And I hope not. I don't think I get overly involved.
No, you don't.
And I certainly don't. You know, I've always avoided too many kind of prying questions about how things are done, how they've gone, or whatever, because I think that's not necessarily helpful to the end product.
But it's really important for us to have an outside voice, actually, to have somebody that doesn't know what's going on to come and say, you know, I'm not sure about that, and especially because we're so involved with it. I mean, there've been times where we've been working kind of 3 days on a trot without much sleep, and he's come on and gone, you know, it's not good enough, and that's actually really important. You know, I think that we certainly welcome, you know, as much kind of feedback as possible.
That's a hard thing to imagine in a way. You know, Richard saying that's not good enough, and it's because once you've been amazed, you have to be more amazed in a way each time, don't you? I mean, that's the weird thing.
It's also the thing that because we're making it and we're out in the field, as you said, we kind of were living it, so it's sometimes good to have someone with a view from the outside just to kind of steer us on the right track. Because at the end of the day, you know, they commission not just Mission Impossible, but many other TV shows. So, you know, Richard and his whole team at UK TV know what they're talking about in regards to, you know, TV. I have this constant thing, but they've been reiterated to me time and time again. Yeah, when you're making a show, just think of the 40-year-old in Coventry. Yeah. Does my head in. One day I'm going to meet that 40-year-old in Coventry. I'm going to say, what did you think of the show, really?
I don't know where that came from, but what I would say...
That was from you many moons ago.
These guys are real perfectionists, and I think actually my role, Paul, is just to kind of reflect that back a bit, actually. So we've had a couple of things where I've said, I don't think that makes the grade. And actually, they've taken it really well because they want the best show to come out there. And so, you know, I think we've had a very good collaborative relationship.
I just would love to see you say that trick is not amazing enough. I'm not amazed.
I am unamazed.
That man in Coventry might be amazed, but I'm not. What's Phil McIntyre's role in while the production is going on?
Well, while it's going on, really, we just let everybody get on with it.
Back.
And then while they're in the moment, we're really looking ahead at what's coming next and trying to foresee any major problems that might be in the next bit of filming,
right.
Really.
So
I work with Maria, the production manager, and Debbie, the other exec, to look ahead and think ahead while they're in it.
So basically, you do all my predictions for me?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You haven't realised yet. Yeah.
But I've got to say as well, I mean, as much as kind of taking a back seat creatively, which is massively important to me, because look, before we met Phil McIntyre, we went and saw tons of production companies, and everybody had a view on what this show could be. And actually, they were the only people that listened to us and said, well, what do you want to do? You know, everybody else was like, you got to do this and do that. So, you know, that meant a lot to us. But also, when we've been, you know, faced kind of challenges on production, Lucy's always been there. And I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about some of the things that have come up, you know, over the production. But so it's great because they're there, you know, when we need them, and they allow us to do what we want to do as well.
You say you're there when they need them, but you're often not there because you are travelling around a lot now, and we've seen you in all sorts of different territories. Is there? Can you list basically the countries where this show is seen?
It's probably easier to list the countries where it's not.
Yeah, let's do that then.
It's over 200 territories now, I think.
Is it?
It's 180 countries.
Are there spots there around the world where they've yet to fully appreciate your genius?
I guess there's 206 countries, I believe, in the world, and we're 180 of them, so 26 of them. I'm coming for you. And that 40-year-old in commentary. Find them as well.
And the reactions are obviously different in different places. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the reaction of people in London is going to be different to people in New York or Las Vegas.
People find my humour better up here, so maybe I should come and do comedy in Edinburgh. You know, I'm doing all right in this room.
Yeah, they like comedy up here.
Yeah.
I hate it in London.
But yeah, the reactions are crazy. Like I said earlier on, like, you know, the reactions are always different. No matter where I go, I can never totally predict how they're going to react. And yeah, I think that is, for me, most people, react to the magic, whereas I react to the reaction, and that's what I get the biggest buzz from, and that's why I keep doing it.
That is something that you get from watching successive series. You are always excited. I mean, you know, grateful to be doing what you're doing, and genuinely, obviously, seemingly leaping out of bed in the morning. That's how it comes across, anyway. I'm
from Council Estate in Bradford. I'm not supposed to be letting front doors, let alone doing this.
Yeah. See, that is the attitude you need. We have a montage of reactions, since we started to talk about reactions, which I think in some ways sort of speaks for itself. So let's just see some reactions to Dynamo. Do you ever tire of hearing people say fuck? Because wherever you go, people say fuck.
Like I said, I'm from Bradford. People have been swearing at me all my life.
Was there any reactions that you've had around the world that kind of surprised you? Because they were very different from the last place you went? I mean, how was it in India, for instance?
Oh, in India it was very different. It takes a lot to get the crazy reactions in India because they're so polite, people. Like, I'm not used to that. Like, they'll watch the performance, like, they'll be like, you know, on their faces, expression-wise, their jaws will drop, like, but they'll wait till you've finished doing everything, and then they'll, in sync, every single one will be like. But it was, so it was quite tricky to kind of, you know, get them to totally relax and react in a more natural manner than what they, you know, because they try and react, like I say, like Dan says, if you take too long to perform for them, give them time to think, then they try to react how they think, you know, they should react, and that's obviously not the case. So I want naturalness and, you know, real reactions. So we find one of the techniques we've used is rather than just get the reaction and then, you know, move on to the next group, is when I leave, which I do after most of the pieces of magic I do, you've probably seen that, we often keep the cameras running, but Dan will drop the camera to the side, and, you know, but it'll be recording, because they think that we stop filming. And that's when usually the most natural reaction will come. So then they'll be like talking to the friends, like, but did you see that? So, yeah. So.
And obviously it's good for the show to have celebrities on there, and they're kind of regularly sprinkled through it. Keith Lemon, that was a particularly good one. If people have seen it, you'll know, because he's obviously a comic character, isn't he? He's not even real, but he is at the same time trying to maintain that kind of image. Don't tell me I've let right in upon magic. But his reaction when you've gone, which you do, is, "Oh, you bastard," he says. You know, he really feels like you've beaten him. And his way of beating you would be to not be amazed. I guess that's the battle, isn't it? I'm going to amaze you. I'm not going to be amazed.
I think, you know, I found when filming with comedians that their natural thing is to take any situation and make light of it and make something comedic come out of it. So it's actually a lot tougher to impress the comedians, but I got the bastard.
You did. You absolutely did. And by walking away, that's the ultimate, I think.
He tried to follow me, though. He tried to run after me.
Yeah, he did. We're going to show a clip in a moment from Brazil. Is there anything that was particular about filming in Brazil that made it difficult or more enjoyable?
Yeah, there were a lot of things that made it tricky. I mean, we filmed up in the favelas in Chapamanguera over 2 nights. I think we were up there, and you know, I think often you go into a place and you have an expectation of how it is, and you adjust very quickly. You know, you have to adjust very quickly. And I think by the second day, we felt very kind of acclimatized. Everybody was very welcoming. It was an amazing place, you know, so we're kind of just taking it all in. And I remember there was one particular time when a storm had come in, so we had to stop shooting. And I had the 5D and I was taking stills. And so I got a plastic bag to cover the lens and cut a little hole out of it. And I was taking shots of a group of people had come out to clean out the drains so it wouldn't flood. And I'm creeping along with my camera, and suddenly somebody came and tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Be very careful. There are police with their guns trained on you right now." And I'm like, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, they think you're a sniper." And I looked up, and literally there were 2 police up above me looking down. So you suddenly think, God, you know, I'm kind of not at home anymore. I've got to be a bit careful. So I think we had things like that where we just weren't really used to the environment. And then filming the levitation, and Lucy remembers this well, at Christ the Redeemer. We got up there early. We got up there about 7 o'clock in the morning. And the first group of tourists, they opened the doors basically at I think 9 in the morning, and we looked out and it was crystal clear sky, and we could see, you know, right across Rio, and it was beautiful, perfect weather. At about 8:45, I think I looked over the edge and I was like, "There's quite a lot of cloud coming up." And we all looked over, yeah, it's kind of moving quite quickly. Yeah. And literally by 9 o'clock, it was a whiteout. You couldn't see the statue, you couldn't see anything. And we're like, okay, you know, we'll wait this out. And throughout the day, it got worse and worse and worse until I think there was like a thunderstorm. We basically had to leave, like they evacuated everybody, we had to go down. So we're like, okay, great. So we're going to have to ask permission again to get up there, you know, because we had to go to the, you know, local authorities. And then the same thing happened the next day. And we've literally, it's our last day out in Rio. And we're like, you know, if we don't get this, we've got to go back to Richard and say, hey, we haven't got to finish it to the show. And I think we had a gap, like a 5-minute gap.
We sat at the feet of Christ the Redeemer for 3 days. So we got it.
That's very respectful.
I kind of thought it was a sign.
It worked, obviously.
Well,
we will see the clip now. This has to be seen to be believed. You see, seeing the reaction of the people there while that's happening, you know, they're there. We're not. We're separated. You know, we're watching it at home or on our computers, on our phones, and it's still amazing to see it. But in a way, it can never be as good for us as it is for those people there. They're getting front row seats on this thing. We're lucky enough to see film of it. I mean,
so I saw that in the edit suite first, but of all the kind of magic we've done, I think there are 2 things that walking across the River Thames and that literally sent shivers down my spine when I saw it. And I think actually there's something really interesting about that episode that's indicative of how the series has kind of developed. And I think that's a really, really good example of a brilliant piece of music that just absolutely supports what Dynamo's doing. And
you had to try then not to use an elevated pun or something in describing the music.
And you're right. And you know, music is incredibly important in the series. And I think the other thing about that episode for me particularly is that for me felt like the first time that you guys had really embraced the idea of making magic that was really kind of in situ, that really kind of you know, was with stuff that was found on the street. So I can remember, you know, from that episode, Dynamo picking up a nut and a bolt from the dust, or the popcorn cart, or the ring and the little in the you know, the coin, the little kind of candy machine, and it's those kind of things that really that I think as we went from Series 1 to Series 2 really kind of lifted it and took it to a new level.
It's funny to talk about music. I mean, I think they kind of hate us for it because we our editors, because we literally spend hours and hours and hours and hours trawling through music, you know, until it's right, and then it all gets reversioned when it goes internationally. and they put audio networks on it. So
Kills us.
I literally don't watch it. I've never watched it.
I've got a box of series 1, 2, and 3 DVDs in the office, right? And every time I go to give someone one, he won't let me. It's like, no, it's got bad music on. I'll just send them links.
But I can remember going to kind of final viewings and you know, signing off and stuff, and then the show gets delivered and watching it back and going, I don't remember that. And then phoning Dan up and goes, yeah, I'd never liked that track, so I changed it. Literally, you know, I mean, sometimes after the show's been delivered, tracks have been changed.
But it's really interesting when we go, I think South Africa and India were really interesting musically, because we basically had to educate ourselves in terms of the local music on the ground, you know, and some of it just doesn't work for television. You know, it sounds great, it sounds authentic, but it just doesn't work. And so
there was that amazing song for India, and we had it positioned perfectly to accentuate the magic. And then we had one of our friends who listened to it, and he goes, "You can't use that." Well, his mum goes, "You can't use that." And he goes, "Why?" Because it's really offensive in the language that they're singing in. It's like, it's a really rude song.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like,
it was basically about a girl seducing an older man, and it was kind of wrong. Wrong for what we were doing. So yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of time to get the music right for these things.
But it's important that it's authentic, though. Like every time if we're in a cab or if we're getting driven somewhere, we always ask the drivers what music we're listening to at the minute, so we can really take stuff away from the places we go to and put it into the show.
Now, you said earlier on that there was a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to, I don't know what that is, but you...
There's a surprise. But first, I'll do some magic. Let's try this. To begin with, I want to make sure everyone's warmed up. Are you warmed up? Yeah. Still with us, yeah? Just in case you're not warmed up yet, we're going to warm up together. Yeah? So just shake your hands out like this. Put your hands in front of you. Your thumbs to the ground. Yeah? Like this. So now I'm joking. So keep it serious though. Keep your hands out. Thumbs to the ground. Cross your hands over. Together. Squeeze tight. Yeah? Even the camera guy at the back. I can see you not doing it. Hey, Bob. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. Head to the left. The other left. Then the right. And now without letting go, really simple, just do this. Okay, just me then. Basically, I'll tell you how I did it. It's easy. I can take my hand and I can go. All the way around. Or even like my little finger. Watch this. Oh, I'm definitely warmed up. You guys, let's try this. Let me see. I need a lady to help me out. Any volunteers? Do you want to climb down? Do you want to run down? Yeah. What's your name?
I'm Kat.
Everyone, this is Kat. So, Kat, I've got some cards here.
Yeah.
Does that look fair? They're all different?
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to think I'm cheating, Kat. I am. I just don't want you to think I am. Yeah. I'll give them a quick shuffle. In fact, I'll give them a Dynamo shuffle. Let's see. Here we go.
That is sexy.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top card, and I just want you to write your name and your credit card details. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Just want you to bite down on the card.
Can I round over as well?
You guys can just give us a moment. I was going to write Dynamo on this one. I think this is the pre-watershed version of the show, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
So I've got Dynamo and the King of Diamonds. Take a look.
I'm shaking.
Thank you very much. I'm just finding, I was amusing, laughing to myself there because I just realised her name's Kat Spooner as well. So, thank you, Kat. Should we try one more thing?
Yeah, one more thing.
Let's see. I want every one of you now just to clear your minds. That was quick. I want you all to think of a playing card. So any card you want, not the jokers, because I take those out of the pack. I've got enough of those up here. But yeah, think of a card right now. And then I'm going to, Dan, I want you to take this pack and hand it to anyone in the audience.
Okay.
Yeah? Do it now. Now, you may not trust Dan because he knows me, so I'm going to let you now pass that to anybody else you want. Yeah. And I'm going to turn around now, just so, and I want you to pass it to somebody else. And actually keep passing it, like pass the parcel, until I say stop. Keep passing it around, and stop. Whoever's got it, just stand up. Has it disappeared? Where is it? Stand up, yeah? Do you want to join me on the stage? Give him a massive round of applause. Does everybody agree that she was chosen at random? Yes. Perfect. How are you doing? Right? Hi. What's your name?
Heidi.
Heidi. Everyone, Mrs. Heidi? Oh, Heidi, you was thinking of a card, right?
Right.
Yeah? Well, name the card out loud.
King of Spare. What do you call it? No.
Spades or hearts or
No,
diamond?
the black one.
Clubs, like this?
This one.
King of Spades, yeah? And everyone in the room was thinking of a card. What was your card?
Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds. So like you had the Ace of Spades, you had the Jack of Clubs. So it could have been any card. You all had free choice, and you was chosen at random. Because what's interesting is you were chosen by getting handed this pack, which has been in your hands since you walked down to the stage. Inside the pack, I have a prediction that I made earlier. I had one card that I turned upside down before I even walked in this room. It's right there. Take a look. And I've actually got a surprise, because that wasn't even the surprise, I just got carried away. The surprise is we've got a couple of clips that no one's seen before from the brand new series from India. So, yeah, do you want to introduce
Here they
them?
are.
We've got this one more clip, right? Because that was Holy Festival, if you didn't know. And now there's a clip with some actual magic in it as well.
Are we? We're working on it. Apparently, we're working on the other clip.
We're working on
Yeah,
it.
that means it will be coming. Right, there is a slight delay, but it will come.
Right, Paul, any questions?
Yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to just throw it open, and once the clip's ready, we'll stop them. So your hand went up so fast. You want to wait till the microphone comes across. It's a real microphone, by the way. Yeah, there it is.
Hello, I'm a
I don't think it's on.
Okay, I have got a very loud voice, so I think everyone can hear me. I'm a massive fan.
Hi.
So hi. I just want to know, so when you were learning the tricks one by one, when you'd go up, when you'd visit your grandfather, you said.
Yeah.
So now, where do you learn your new tricks? Where do you get your ideas? And so, yeah, who do you learn from now?
Now I kind of get my inspiration from, I mean, everywhere. You've got things like the internet, obviously, which you can I'm on YouTube all the time, looking at all the latest funny videos of cats and dogs, and, occasionally I get inspiration from some YouTube clips. Movies as well. I see a lot of films like superhero movies, and I get inspired by the special effects that they use, but obviously I just recreate them and do them live, without the use of special effects. From Dynamo. And I think also, over the last kind of 5 years, or even longer with me and Dan, we've kind of had the opportunity to work with incredible people. Like, I've got a lot of great magician friends who I've been on board to help out and to kind of, soundboard ideas and throw things around. Dan and even Richard occasionally has given me some great inspiration, believe it or not, for magic. Even Lucy throws out some good ideas. So I think the team we've built together over the last, 4 years making Magician Impossible, we've kind of got an open box just to throw ideas into, and I'm very fortunate to have creative people surrounding me all the time that just constantly fill me with inspiration.
I was going to say as well, I think quite a few ideas have come from touring. There's definitely a couple of things. The Vanish that you saw earlier in HMV. After the first show had aired, and it was the first time we'd really kind of seen kind of mobbing and people clambering to get to him, and we were at
it was when Westfield's first opened.
Yeah, it was a Westfield's.
The Adidas store.
That's right.
opening.
Yeah, we did an opening, and we literally got outside, and there were like hundreds of people trying to get in to meet him. And
I only tweeted that I was going to buy some trainers.
Yeah, bad idea. So we had to get escorted out of here, and we were literally surrounded by people. And
8 security guards and 2 police escorts to get back to the car.
It'd take us a while. And I remember us saying at the time, God, it would be amazing if you could just vanish, in front of everybody, surrounded. And so I think that a lot of these things led to the inspiration for then what you see on the show. And it makes it feel more authentic as well, because they're actually things that we were experiencing.
I guess it's kind of try and, if any of you, if the everyday person could do magic, what would they do? And that's kind of what I always try and put that into the magic. So, and I guess even now with social media, Twitter and everything, now I get some crazy ideas sent from my fans, and some of them we actually do. So.
Any other hands? Just right. So we go right to the back in the middle there.
Hello. Also a massive fan. It's great to see everything we've seen so far. You've obviously done a lot of work with celebrities. Who's the best celebrity you've got a reaction from?
Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, there's been a few really. I think one of my favourites was after performing for Snoop Dogg backstage this was in 2004 at his concert in Earl's Court. And I'm doing some magic for him. And first, actually, when I walked in the room, I wasn't supposed to be there. I snuck in because I was friends with the support act. So I kind of snuck in there, and I got introduced as one of the band. But then the guy, Stagger Lee from MVP, he introduced me, said, "Oh, this is a Dynamo. He's going to show you some cool stuff." And Snoop's like, "For real?" I'm like, "Yeah." So then I started doing magic to him, and then I goes, "Is it okay if we film it?" And he whipped out his camera and he goes, "Hell yeah, I'm filming you." So I'm like, wicked, right? I did loads of magic, and the room got more and more hazy, and I can't really remember much about it. But I just remember at the end, like, "Oh, cool. Is it cool if I get you to do like a little shout out for my website?" And he turned around to his laptop, found the beat, and put it on full volume, and then just a 3-minute freestyle about all the magic he'd just seen. That was his reaction. He did a freestyle about it also. How many people can say Snoop Dogg rapped about him? I remember going home, and on the way home calling my nana, and and she was like, "Snoop who?" But that was always going to be one of my favourite moments. I think Chris Martin's reactions was wicked there as well. I think people don't necessarily, you know, people have this perception of Coldplay and the band, you know, and don't necessarily see their funny side or their normal side. So it's kind of nice to be able to show that, and we're also on the new series, so you'll get to see more of them.
I should mention also that at the Film House at 7:30 we're showing the first episode of Series 4 on the big screen over at the cinema over there. It's full of people who've paid to come and see it, but I'm sure there are probably places for delegates if you wish to do so, unless somebody tells me in my ear that that's not true. Yeah, so if you feel like seeing the whole of the first episode of the new series, then
people want to know
come
what's
and see
happening with the clip.
Yeah.
Can you ask that person in your ear?
Hang on. It's disappeared. Oh. No, seriously, I think it has. I don't know why.
You got it on your laptop?
I think I have.
Let's not worry about it, because there'll be other questions to answer.
I'll do one more trick then.
Go on then, do one more trick.
I'm going to show you how to win the lottery. It's a good technique. I call it cheating. Yeah. You get some lottery tickets. You've seen these before, right? Yeah? And all you've got to do is just take them, and if you get it just the right spot and just give it a little shake, boom. It works every time. So, yeah. Any questions?
I have one question before we go, which is what's next for Dynamo, since you've announced that this is your...
I'm going to go to a screening at the Film House.
Yeah. Anything beyond that you can tell us about? What I mean,
I think...
your decision to end this particular...
This is the final series of Magician Impossible. I thought it'd be a good time to give, you know, my team a holiday, because they've worked their asses off for the last 4 years. And I think, you know, the thing which has obviously, you know, seen the response from you guys here today, but everyone wants to see is they want to see me do it live, you know. And you've had a little tiny taste of, you know, a bit of impromptu magic here, but I think the possibilities in the live arena for magic, you know, is kind of open for someone like myself to kind of step into. You know, I think the magic shows that we think of on stage and in theatres, we think back to like David Copperfield and, you know, Siegfried and Roy, and I think what they did for magic was phenomenal. But now, you know, it's time to kind of reinvent and, I guess, bring up to date what people see as a stage magic show. So, you know, I might have a go at that.
Brilliant. Well, that one, and you're obviously ideally placed for that.
Absolutely.
So, well, listen, it's been great having people here. We really appreciate all four of our panellists here, Dan and Richard and Lucy. But if I may say so, particularly Dynamo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing.